if you make this habit hard to do, it's not going to happen for the long term. Like the system that you implement needs to be very simple, very obvious, and you need to be able to easily follow it from one step to the next. And then that system that you create is what helps you maintain that discipline.
Now we are live.
Mm.
I did it on purpose. I'm going to try to catch Jaleesa and Tom mid-conversation. Make it feel more natural.
I was going to say something embarrassing, but now I'm not.
So. Now you can't.
Nope.
Now we're going to talk about being too busy, quote unquote, to work out. Mm-hmm. Now we hear this a lot and we feel this a lot too. It's a problem. It's hard, right? We sometimes feel like we don't have enough hours in the day to work out. But I'm going to start this off by saying your body doesn't really care. And that sounds a little aggressive, but it's true, right? It's something that you have to prioritize. If you don't prioritize it, you start to get aches and pains. You don't feel as good mentally. You're not probably as patient of person, right? There's a lot of feel-good hormones. You feel better. You feel more confident. A lot of chronic illnesses are associated with not working out, right? So it's one of those things that you have to find some sort of time.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, go ahead.
We've talked, or I've heard it put a different way of like, anytime you say that you don't have time for something or you're not going to do something, instead of saying like, I'm too busy to do this, say like, I'm choosing not to prioritize this right now. And that feels a little different when you say that, because it just puts a different perspective on it. And I think that's the truth of like, I mean, of course, there are certain situations where like, yeah, like legit, you can't prioritize working out. But in other situations, it's like, okay, well, in reality, let's do an assessment. Like, how many hours are you spending watching TV? How many hours are you on your phone? How many hours are you, can we figure out how to make your life a little bit more routine so that you can figure it out? Is it just an excuse? So I think there's a lot of things to think about. And that's not me saying that I don't think there are people who like legit don't have time, but I think oftentimes it's not true. So I think, let's break it down and talk about what that can look like.
We have a lot of, I know we have a lot of people who maybe had that as a reason why. Like we always ask them like, what could be holding you back, or what's a reason that could hold you back from achieving all these goals that you've laid out? And quite often it's time. That's one of the biggest ones. And there are a lot of people that have come through and that has been one of their reasons. And they were some of the busiest people I've ever known. And they have carved out time for that and for at least like an hour training session and more now, but it didn't start out that way, right? It started out with 20-minute, 30-minute sessions, maybe with us, maybe on their own. But I think that's another important thing too. Like you talked about finding out how to structure this and make it more routine. If we start, like we always talk about, starting small, like what do you think is manageable? Can you do 5 minutes of movement, 10 minutes of movement today, 15 minutes of movement, whatever it is, and then slowly build that up over time? Because I think a lot of people have the concept in their head that a workout needs to be at least an hour or else it wasn't enough. It didn't matter.
Yeah.
But if you take the time to, like we've talked about before, start small and compound and be consistent with it, then over time, maybe you will get up to that full hour. Not that you ever need to. Like there are a lot of extremely hard workouts. Like if anyone in here has ever done like what we did today, like Diane, or a workout called Fran, those are more intense CrossFit style workouts, but they're under 5 minutes. Yeah. And you don't want to do much more after that. Right. Yeah. So, it's all, I think, changing a little bit of the framework and the mindset around what you think a good workout actually needs to consist of, and starting where you're at with what time you have available.
Yeah.
And also, if we think about that big rock, small rock, sand extras or visual, right? Like we think we have a cup, we have big rocks, we have pebbles, we have sand. You got to put the big rocks in first. The big rocks being those really important things. So time with family. Obviously, you have to work. Working out. You have to put those big rocks in first, because if you start with things like sand. So those are things like, hey, maybe we're watching TV or we're going on our phone, or these like smaller type things that can really add up. If you put that in the jar first, you're not going to have any room for the big rocks, because the sand can fit around the big rocks and the pebbles and so on. And if anyone has any further questions, or they're kind of like, that sounds really interesting, we actually have a whole ebook on that for time management. So just comment below with the word manage and we'll send it your way.
I think some of the practical things that people can do to start, like if you're not used to these things, so is always like planning the night before. So for a lot of people, in order to be successful, they have to like put out their workout clothes the night before. If that means like if they're going to work out at home or pack a gym bag, you have to have it ready the night before. Plan your food so that you can, have that time and flexibility, and think like, instead of spending an hour figuring out what to make for supper and then actually make it, if you actually have a plan, you can spend that time moving, working out, and then go make your supper because you already have a plan. You have your things taken out and ready to go. And I think a lot of my most successful clients that I've worked with, we've spent time going through their week and actually picking it apart and saying like, hey, what can we help you with in terms of time management so that fitness can be a part of your life on a consistent basis. And for some of them, that means 6 a.m. workouts. And as hard as that is to start, the 6 a.m. crew that I know are the most consistent and dedicated humans in the world, because they know that like, okay, this is routine. I get up, I work out, and then I have my whole day, and then I don't have to worry about it anymore. And yeah, sometimes it's hard to start, but once you get there, that's like, I don't know. I think that's the best thing that people can do for themselves, is start their day off with a good solid workout, because then nothing gets in the way the rest of the time. And that might mean sacrificing your extra hour in the evening watching Netflix before you go to bed. But in reality, at the end of the day, if your body and your health is more important than finishing your Netflix show, that's going to reflect on everything else. So I think those are a couple of things that are important to go through just to assess for people of like, how can we make this work, and what are you willing and able to do?
I was going to say, I think you talked about it like the truth, Matt, at the beginning. It's like, I know it can seem harsh, like, and we're not, like, if you feel, I've felt this before too, like if you feel like like one of us is like pointing a finger at you, it's like, we're just saying this like in general, obviously, but like, if it feels like it does hit you a little bit more in the chest, it's because like, it's a truth that maybe you have been avoiding for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
And like, there are these certain universal truths that we can't work our way around. And I think this is one of them, that if we don't prioritize or find a way to prioritize your health overall, and fitness is a huge part of that, then it will become a priority down the road at some point. And we don't obviously want that to happen to any one of you, but if it's kind of one of those things that there's no way around it, really.
Right. It's kind of like joking about, hey, I don't want to work out today. Can you work out for me? Type of thing. And the answer is obviously no. But I think we treat it as such, as, hey, I'll take care of it down the road. But when you keep kicking the can down the road, you're getting further and further from that starting point. That would have been a lot easier to start then, even if it's small. And so something you mentioned, Jaleesa, at the start, before we hopped on here, was the idea of motivation and discipline or commitment. We wait for this motivation, this internal, hey, I'm pumped up, I'm ready to start this program, I'm ready to eat well, which lasts for a while, but then it kind of falls off. And that's even if you see elite athletes, they're not always motivated, right? They have this small little ebbs and flows, like valleys to trough, valley trough, or the opposite, sorry, peaks and valleys. But they know why they're doing it, right? They know why they're doing it. So they stay committed to the process, even when it's a hard struggle, even when they don't have time. They know they need to commit to the process. And that's how they get through to the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think one of the biggest things is motivation. The idea of motivation, I think we always think that, oh, the fittest people are just always motivated. Absolutely not. The fittest people are just very disciplined, or they have a team that helps them on those days when they're not motivated. So I know, like, I have online clients that, you have to be very motivated or disciplined to work out at home. One of the two. You have to have one of those two at all times. And one in particular, she is super busy nurse, a mom, a farmer's wife, and I know for a fact she doesn't have an hour every day to work out. So we have a system. I give her short workouts, and the incredible progress she has is because she's disciplined. Like, of course, she doesn't want to work out every single day, but she knows at the end of the day, it makes her feel better and builds her confidence and helps her be a better mom and a better wife. And so she does it. And we've worked through how we're going to make that work for her. And I think that's like the perfect example of, like, is she motivated every day? Absolutely not. Is she disciplined every day? Absolutely. Because she knows what happens if she doesn't. And so I think just kind of deep diving into that of, like, am I relying on motivation, or am I truly just lacking discipline, and then finding someone to help you develop that discipline, because discipline can be learned and, encouraged in people. You just have to find the right team to do it.
I think what you said there about, like, her systems that she's set up, I think is a huge part of the discipline side of things. Like, if you don't have a system that is easy to follow, that's probably a part of a lot of the habit books that I've been reading recently. Is like, if you make this habit hard to do, it's not going to happen for the long term. Like, the system that you implement needs to be very simple, very obvious, and you need to be able to easily follow it from one step to the next. And then that system that you create is what helps you maintain that discipline.
Yeah. Well, and I think a big part of the success of a person system too is, like, having your person, whoever you live with, maybe your kids, your spouse, be on your team, because that wouldn't be possible if her family didn't help her out to be able to do that. Her kids know the routine, her husband knows the routine. They've worked on it as a family so that that is doable and that works. So I think having those conversations with your family of, like, hey, if I'm going to work out, it's really important to me. Can you guys make your own breakfast, or have your breakfast ready for you, or whatever it might be. So even including your family in setting those goals for yourself, I think is ideal for setting up for success.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know, Matt, well, sorry, I was just going to say, you mentioned, like, no one can work out for you, but there are a lot of other things that people can help you with that can allow you the time to get that workout in. So I mean, just asking for help where maybe you can, and then that'll free up some time for you. Sorry, go ahead, Matt.
No, you're good. I think it's about thinking about space and time as two different things. You can't create more time, right? We have a set amount of time in our day, but you can create more space in your time. So how do you create more space? Like you said, asking people for help, saying this is a priority to me. I know it needs to be important to make me a better person in other aspects of life. But also, sometimes you have to invest more time, or you have to invest more at the start to actually get more space in your time. So what I mean by that is, when you work out consistently, you're going to have more energy. So that's going to give you more space within your time, right? Because you're not as lethargic. It's not going to take you as long to get out the door. It's not going to take you as long to prep a meal. It's not going to take you as long to do all these other things. So it can be a really difficult thing, that delayed gratification, and kind of having that trust that in the process, hey, I'm going to invest more time that I don't actually think I have right now, so that down the road, I actually get more space within my time because I have more energy and things of that nature. And along the same lines as that, is nutrition, right? If you really you have no time whatsoever to work out, we'll start with nutrition. I've had people come in and say they have no time, right? They have no ability to start working out. That's fine, but we're going to start something. We're going to start something right now, and maybe it's just nutrition, because when your nutrition gets better, you actually need to work out less, right? If you have a really poor diet and you're working out 6 days a week, you'd be way better off spending more time on your nutrition and working out 3 days a week because you get better results that way.
Yep.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Well, I think we covered everything.
I think we did.
Yeah.
It's good.
Well, everyone, thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. This has been a slice. Any last words, team?
No, I think just if people need help getting started or need some ideas of how to do a 10-minute workout, that's all you got, we can definitely help with that.
Yeah, you can even head to our website. I believe we have.
I think the download's a nutrition thing right now, but we do have some free PDFs, some old PDFs with some at-home workouts. And I think every Saturday, Jaleesa posts a workout, at-home workout to our Instagram as well.
Instagram and Facebook. Yeah. And they're usually not super long. So
yeah,
definitely doable.
All right. See you, team.